Looking for financial support that strives to honor your community's rich heritage and cultural practices? Introducing RBC Origins. Our Indigenous banking specialists provide resources and advice that can help transform your ideas into tangible progress and community prosperity. At RBC, we're committed to driving your goals forward. Learn more at rbc.com/indigenous. RBC, ideas happen here.
I'm Rick Harp. This is your APTN News Brief for Monday, August 4th. For the second time in a little over a week, a First Nations man has been shot dead by police. According to an Ontario Provincial Police press release, on July 31st, members of the Sioux Lookout Detachment, quote, interacted with an individual armed with a knife on Wapekeka First Nation. During the interaction, an officer discharged their firearm. As a result, the armed individual was pronounced deceased at the scene, unquote. The incident is now being looked at by Ontario's Special Investigations Unit, or SIU. Meanwhile, the SIU and OPP continue to investigate the fatal July 22nd shooting of a man at Deer Lake First Nation, 580 kilometers northwest of Thunder Bay. Family members have identified the deceased as 40-year-old Eric Nothing. The SIU says Anishinaabe-Aski Police Service officers went to a Deer Lake residence with a warrant for Nothing's arrest. After an officer discharged his firearm at the man, police provided first aid on the scene. He was then taken to a nursing station where he later died. Nothing was the son of the late Bruce Frog, who last June was shot and killed by an OPP officer at Kenora's Anishinaabe Park. SIU recently cleared the officer of any criminal wrongdoing. To southern Manitoba, where Treaty 1 nations just marked the anniversary of that covenant, and it was on August 3, 1871, that Treaty 1 was signed by the Anishinaabe, Swampy Cree, and the Crown at Lower Fort Garry, one of 11 such numbered treaties. And just ahead of the 154th anniversary of the signing, Treaty 1 nations hosted a commemorative event. Among the invited speakers, former Chief Dennis Whitebird.
The treaty is, of course, a major part of our history. But as First Nations people, we have been using this territory, this land, for thousands of years. It was about sharing the land, and that's what treaty meant for First Nations people. Because we have a relationship to the land, that we have responsibilities of stewardship to look after the land.
The debate over the existence of Métis communities continues in Ontario. Now, a new report from the Wabun Tribal Council claims there's no evidence they took root in their territories, findings disputed by the Métis Nation of Ontario organization. With more, Sierra Bettens.
This is about protecting the rights of the First Nations who signed Treaty Number 9.
Earlier this month, Wabun Tribal Council released a 152-page report disputing the existence of Métis communities in their territories north of Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Wabun is made up of 6 First Nations who signed Treaty 9 in the early 20th century. They commissioned historian Leila Inksetter to examine the presence of Métis communities in the area before 1906. Inksetter's report concluded no evidence of one.
This is not the first report.
Jason Batiste is the executive director of Wabun Tribal Council.
This is one amongst dozens that are saying the same thing. And it is unfortunate that we have to go through these exercises of confirmation.
The Métis Nation of Ontario has since rejected the report. In a statement published last Wednesday, the MNO argued that half-breed script petitions from the area support the existence of the historic Abitibi inland Métis community. But Batiste maintains the report's legitimacy.
Dr. Inksetter goes into very specific versions of why. Small trading posts with 2 and 3 people, that doesn't make a community. Simply saying that half-breeds are now Métis doesn't make them Métis.
Batiste believes the MNO's assertion that a Métis community exists in Wabun's traditional territory is a threat to the Wabun Tribal Council's treaty rights. In March 2023, Wabun launched a judicial review of Canada and the MNO's Métis Self-Government Recognition and Implementation Agreement that was signed in February of that year.
We're talking about First Nations land and interference in our negotiations and discussions and sovereignty with our Crown partners.
APTN reached out to the MNO for an interview. In response, Brittany Matheson, Senior Director of Texture Communications, said no one from the MNO was available and directed APTN to the statement posted on MNO's website. Sierra Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Today we'll see the Norway House Cree Nation sign a memorandum of understanding with the John Howard Society, an MOU that some hope leads to an on-reserve courthouse in northern Manitoba. Julia Ross reports.
Monday, August 4th, will be a historical day for the Norway House Cree Nation, with a memorandum of understanding being signed with the John Howard Society.
This is going to lay the groundwork for us to actually start the process of getting a courthouse in our community.
Gilbert Fredette wants to change the system. He's senior advisor to Norway House Chief and Council. He's also a board member with the John Howard Society, a Canadian group founded in 1867 to help people before, during, and after they are sent to jail.
What I'm sick of seeing is the Court of King's Bench flying into our communities, setting up shop with picnic tables, having a court for the day, then they fly out of there, and yet their sheriff vans are waiting to take our kids away and our young people away all the time. And we have to put a stop to that.
Other people don't have the answers. You can support us, but we have the answers for healing. And that is through connection and community.
Lisa Muswagen is also a Norway House band member working with John Howard. She says more action is needed to help the healing process and decolonize the justice system.
With my family members who currently live in Norway House, what we're seeing is a lot of addiction issues, crime, and no services, no way to help. There's a disconnection in the communities. That's what I feel that we lost through colonization, is we lost that connection to our people.
An actual courthouse in our community is going to be beneficial in so many ways.
Fredette says there is a way to help fix the North's justice system.
They'll give us, our young people and families, the dignity to walk into a building that is on our traditional area instead of having it at a makeshift, courthouse that basically is gone the same day. And like I said, the sheriff's vans are waiting.
Aidan Enns is with the John Howard Society.
We began a conversation about how some of the resources and programs and things that we do here in the John Howard Society could fit up north in Norway House. And that began a conversation. And now it's led to the next stage where we're at the brink of departure.
Fredette believes the agreement will lead to much needed healing in his community.
Having the new venture in Norway House is going to give us the potential to bring it and make it into our own, to help our community members, to help our youth, to help the programming, so we can slow down the incarceration rates with our men and women and start the healing process.
Julia Ross, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
And finally, the Yukon Water Board recently relicensed the Whitehorse Hydro Dam. And as Sarah Connors reports, the process addressed a major concern of affected First Nations in the area.
The Whitehorse Dam has been operating for close to 70 years. And now, after a public hearing last month, it's set to keep running for at least 20 more. Built in 1958, the Whitehorse Dam is operated by Yukon Energy. The dam generates a significant amount of year-round power for Whitehorse and surrounding communities. But local First Nations have long raised issues about the dam, especially its impact on Chinook salmon, whose numbers are in decline. They're concerned the fish ladder is ineffective and its turbines kill or injure fish, factors the Yukon Water Board took into account when making its decision. The dam's new license requires it to repair and maintain the fish ladder, submit an updated operations, maintenance, and surveillance manual, and conduct a yearly safety inspection. It must also submit a timeline for developing plans for things like alternate fish passage options by the end of this year. The dam still requires authorization from the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. Its new license will be in place until July 30th, 2045. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
And that's your APTN News Brief for Monday, August 4th. I'm Rick Harp.